first project is going to be a magic mirror. And what a magic mirror is really something that looks like a mirror that you could hang in your bathroom or on the wall somewhere that will project from behind the mirror images and will be able to take your voice as an input and do things with it. Now there's commercial products like that out. I can say, hey Google, what time is it?
2:07 p.m.
And you'll notice that it answers. We're going to take that same capability and put it on an old display that I have that will display things that are important to me as I instruct it to. So for instance, I'll be able to ask, what is the weather? And it will show me a radar map and forecast displayed different ways. I can ask for the cartoon page and it will show me cartoons from that day and so forth. The way we're going to do that is we're going to build a frame, a wooden frame. We're going to put a one-way mirror in. We're going to put the monitor behind it. The monitor is going to be driven by this Raspberry Pi board with a video cable that goes out to the monitor. The Raspberry Pi, which I have right down here, will have a board on it. It's called a hat that will do the sound, which is the speaker. And that'll let your Raspberry Pi hear your voice and then speak what it's programmed to speak. On top of the Raspberry Pi, we're going to make what looks like a web server type of software. And we will tie into that software voice commands so that you can command your server to display certain pages, and you can locate relatively easily, programmatically, where you want certain data to show up on your web page. It's really not a web server, but it's very similar to a web server, so you can think of it that way. That's going to be the project. You can look this up several places on the internet. I didn't invent this. This is somebody else's idea. This is just my implementation. All right, so to build this frame, I started with the dimension of the monitor, measured that, and then I built the frame that was 1/4 inch smaller than the frame on all 4 sides. I cut the frame to a 45-degree angle based on that dimension, and then I took my one-way mirror. I'm going to give you a place where you can go get one-way mirror. And I laid it down on my frame. Now it was cut exactly the size of the monitor. It was custom sized. So it should fit right on top of the monitor. In fact, it does. Unfortunately, you'll see when you look at this, that while it's about 1/4 inch on each side here, it's way too much over here. And so I cut these side pieces too skinny. What that's going to do is keep some of the monitor behind the wood. And I wanted to avoid that if I possibly could. So we rethought it because I was out of pine wood, and we went and got some oak and we recut that 4 pieces when I had the correct size. Placing this on top of the wood, like I've got here, I had some 1x1s that I ran most of the way down each of the 4 sides and screwed in here and here and here so that they gave some strength to these 4 corners. I also used screws on the sides that have been countersunk so that they fit inside the wood as a way of making sure that this frame was tight. Once I had that ridge around the mirror, I could drop my monitor on top of it and build a frame that wide. I believe we used 1x3s all the way around the outside of those 1-inch boards. That gave my outside a nice look, and we were able to stain it and finish it. That's really all there is to the frame. It's not that hard to do. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I thought about buying some corners that would dress it up some, that may still happen before we're all finished. I will get sizes and locations for the mirror. I'll give you a location where you can get a Raspberry Pi like what I got, and the hat. So I'll have links for those as part of this presentation. And we'll start talking about what software we loaded in what order, so that you can reproduce what we've done so far at least. So I'll walk you through how to do that. That'll be our next step. This segment of the Magic Mirror is going to focus on our hardware and what we bought and why. I want to be showing you some links that have where I purchased different parts. And we're going to talk a little bit about the decisions. The place I started was with a voice kit from AIY. And the reason I did that is that the Raspberry Pi does not have a sound card attached. We need a sound card, so I thought that was a good starting spot. This kit comes with not only the sound card, which is called a hat, which is sitting on top of a full-sized Raspberry Pi, but it also comes with a small Raspberry Pi called a Zero. And I believe this combination is about $30–35 on eBay or Amazon. The problem with the Zero card, it's more than enough to work the sound card that it was paired with, but to do the Magic Mirror, the processing that we want to do as well as the memory, we're probably not going to have enough computing power. Additionally, it's a lot harder to set this up, or maybe a little harder to set it up, because it doesn't have a internet connection. So you have to pair it with your home wireless internet. We want to be able to do that before we're done, but one of the advantages of a full-size Raspberry Pi is it has a wired network connection. Now the advantage of that is that we will immediately be able to start working with this and loading software and so forth, whereas with this, the first thing we've got to do is go through the steps to get the wireless working, and then we have to download several packages over a wireless connection, which sometimes is slower. So I chose the full-size Raspberry Pi. Now the full-size Raspberry Pi, you can get the version I bought, which is a 3B, for about $35 as well. I also chose a larger memory card. You see that little memory card right there, than what came with the kit for this. What came with the kit, I believe, was 8 gig. This is 32 gig. Because again, as we do the Magic Mirror, there's going to be a lot more files that have to be stored. And I didn't want to have to pick and choose which ones I would put on. Just for reference, as we work with this, there's a gold side to this memory card, and it will go down into your connection, like so. It should just slip right in. You pull it out. Gold side down. It's the same on this. If I flip it over, you'll want the gold contacts to go against the printed circuit board. You have a power connector, you have a network connector, you have an HDMI to a monitor connector, and then in addition to that, in order to do this where you don't have to load a lot of software first, you're going to need a keyboard and a mouse. They need to be USB, so here I have a mouse. I'm just going to plug it into my USB connector, and I have a keyboard which can go in to a USB connector. You'll notice I don't have that option on the Zero, so it's just a lot easier to spend a little extra money and get a little bit better board. The next section or segment, I'm going to take this assembled Raspberry Pi with the hat plugged in, these connections that I've showed you, that is my keyboard, my mouse, my network card, my monitor, and my power, and we'll plug it in and we'll start walking through installing the basics so that we have a Magic Mirror. This is a back view of our Magic Mirror, but you'll notice that we built a little frame around the monitor so that it touched all the edges, and then we built a corner that is drilled into the sides to hold that monitor in place on all four corners. Mounted in the center back of the monitor is my little Raspberry Pi. Can you see that? Good. And the speaker, the microphones are actually on the soundboard. And this little button is used to display when the response or when the request can be sent to the Google Assistant software that we're using to make this work. And of course, we have a power plug here. I made this out of oak. I am not a woodworker. Those of you that are can critique it. That's fine. But it ended up looking good enough for me. All I'm going to do here is show a little bit of the completed assembly of our project. You'll see the wood frame that I spoke about, the mirror, one-way mirror, right? Now notice, when I start this, you'll see the image on the video showing through the one-way mirror. So this is how we're going to be able to project things that we'd like to see on a regular basis to the front of the mirror. We're also planning to be able to talk to Google or Alexa and get responses and also control the actual mirror, what shows up on the mirror as we do the speaking. Currently, I don't have that software running, but you will see the front page that I'm looking at as an example when it starts up. So here's a picture of the magic mirror when it's started up. When we're done, I'm going to have this orientated tall versus short. But you can see here it's waiting for me to give it a command to start. That's what that little icon means. I have the time and the date. I have some statistics about the Raspberry Pi so I can just kind of monitor how it's going. Every 10 minutes I get an update from a satellite with a view of the Earth. And I have some other things here that are not showing up at this point. I also have several screens. This is the main screen, but I have several screens that I can call up when I have voice activation working. So that's kind of our goal. Our goal is to be able to put things that we're interested in up on a screen and to be able to talk to Alexa or Google to change the screens that we have, the custom screens we've created, to something we like. And I can call them up voice commands. What time is it?
7:44.
Mirror, mirror, what's the weather like in Frankfurt, Germany?
Right now in Frankfurt, it's 37 and cloudy. Wednesday, there'll be showers with a high of 43 and a low of 36.
Mirror, mirror, who's the fairest of them all?
City Frank, of course, although you seem to be in the top 10.
So here you see that it will talk back with very customized messages, although currently it doesn't sound as good as the normal application that we're using. And we hope to build on that so that I can tell it to go to the weather page with my voice and it will change to the weather page. We don't have some of this working yet. This is work in progress. In addition, as we get into some of our other projects, we're going to be looking at how we could wire an Arduino to it and actually control things like power outlets and so forth. So we've got a lot of plans that we're going to base on this magic mirror. I thought it would be nice if we did some credits for this series. So I'd like to introduce my sister April. She's my muse as well as my camera person. Say hello, April.
Hello. Sidebar, bridge to brilliance.